This is UMAR AHMED for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. I'm at James DeGALE's media workout today at Stonebridge, joined by his trainer, Jim McDONNELL. How you been, mate?
All good, my friend, all good.
Looking sharp with you and your son there on the pads. How's he been sort of in camp?
Yeah, I keep using the word, I sound like a parrot, but James is a buzz fighter, so, and for this fight he's certainly got that buzz. So yeah, all through camp he's been alive, been electric, been professional, and he's been on it.
I spoke to your son about the Truax fights. He said it was more down to the shoulder, sort of the lacklustre performance. But do you think motivation in that played a part as well?
No buzz. No buzz. Night at the office, expected to win, no fear factor. Combination of things, and obviously the injuries at the time weren't great. So yeah, and but that's what's made this fight happen. Because I don't think if James was delivering like he's going to, that this fight would happen. So everything for a reason. So now the fight's happened and people see James go.
EUBANK seems pretty confident that he's going to outwork James down the stretch, etc. And that James is going to fade away. How do you sort of respond to that?
Well, you know, if you look through EUBANK's career and you look through James's career, Chris hasn't really been in the fights of the magnitude James has to see what he's like down the stretch, because he's boxing at a different level. So in the fights that he got beat in, he weren't really strong down the stretch himself. So I think that's a brave statement, and obviously in his mind, let him carry that into the ring, and he'll get his answers in the 9th round, 10th round, 11th round, 12th round. He'll find out.
This hasn't really been talked about much, but do you think that the fact that James is a natural super middleweight and Chris EUBANK Jr. seems like a small super middleweight, naturally a middleweight, do you think that's going to be a key factor in the fight as well?
Well, I'll answer your question very quickly. If super middleweight weren't invented, because it's the last division that actually come into professional boxing, so if it was 11 stone 6, like Chris Senior was, 11 stone 6 or 12 stone 7, ask yourself the question, would Chris EUBANK be a light heavyweight or would he be a middleweight? The answer. Next question.
Fair enough, Jim. I don't know if you've seen James' interview from yesterday with Coogan, but it was quite touching the way he spoke about you. He said he's you're not all up there sometimes, but he loves you nonetheless, and that he'd never leave you. And obviously he's been completely loyal to you, started from day dot. What's your relationship like with James, and how's it progressing since you started?
Well, I think you've hit the nail right on the head there. James is the loyalist fighter that I've ever actually trained. You know, he's through thick and thin, ups and downs. It's not all bed and roses. Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes I've got to make him do things that he don't want to do, and I've got to make him do them, and blah blah blah. And sometimes he does things that I might not agree with. But together we've come through the thick and the thin, and the results don't lie. So we've been a good team, and I can go on record and say that James is the most loyalist fighter I've ever trained, because like you just said, when the chips are down, the trainer always gets blamed. In James DeGale's case, he just went, we've done everything. And he's stuck by the task. And you look at the results, they're there for everyone to see. The first Olympic gold medalist to win a world title, unlimited defences, boxing world-class fighters, and in big fights. So we've had a great run. And James has been absolutely brilliant. And I'll repeat it again, he's the most loyalist fighter I've ever trained.
According to James, when you go for your runs, you don't listen to any music. Can you confirm that's true?
Yeah, because I ran this morning and listening to music's a bit of a burden. I run for, I want this to sound a bit OTT, but I run for peace of mind. I run for tranquility. I run for release of hyped up stress, and it's such a release to just run, breathe fresh air, listen to nothing, and just it's fantastic. So it's never appealed to me to run with music on. I couldn't feel like you're running a game. It feels like you're in a disco.
Talking about trainers, what do you make of the fact that Chris EUBANK Jr. for the first time as a full-time trainer in this corner?
He's not worried about the fight, so I can't understand it. He's just not worried about the fight, so I cannot understand it. All of a sudden you've got a trainer, but you're not worried about the fight. Don't know. I just think it's going to add more confusion.
What have you made of the fact that Chris EUBANK Sr. hasn't really been involved that much? He might have been behind the scenes, but we haven't heard anything in the public, in the press, etc.
Eubank Senior is a G. Eubank Senior is my friend. I know Chris from boxing, we boxed at Matchroom, been through stuff together. I know Chris well. So I really don't know if he's busy or if he's occupied business-wise. But I would imagine that he'll definitely be in attendance on fight night. I would imagine. But it's a strange one.
Coogan spoke to Ronnie Davis recently, and he said even with a full-time trainer in Chris's corner, Junior still might not listen to him in between rounds. What do you make of that statement?
Well, one thing I will say about trainers is, whether it's a football team, if Arsenal sign a new manager, Unai Emery, he never won the Champions League and the Premier League and the FA Cup and everything else in his first season. But I will guarantee you, in the next 4 or 5 years, you'll see a lot of trophies going on that board because he's a brilliant manager. His record speaks for itself. He needs a bit of money at the club, etc. But you watch. But it ain't going to happen overnight. And it's the same with a fighter. You can't just change your trainer and become Sugar Ray Leonard. It just don't happen. And it could be more detrimental than an advantage to have someone in your corner you don't agree with on the night. Because when it's hard in there, and it's going to be hard, when it's hard in there, and you've got a stranger talking to you who don't know you from Adam, and he's trying to look into your inner psyche, and he don't know how deep you can dig and how deep you can't dig. For me, you've got to build in with a trainer, and to do it at a fight of this magnitude, for me, it ain't an advantage at all.
Just lastly, Jim, obviously George Groves announced his retirement a couple of weeks ago. What did you make of his career?
What can you say? He's had a brilliant career, brilliant ambassador for the sport, done everything you could ask of becoming world champion, and didn't give up after the first couple of downsides and achieved his dream. So you got to take you out to him, wish him all the very best. Been great for the sport, and wish him all the best.
Are you a bit gutted though personally that rematch between him and James can't happen?
Listen, everyone loves a big derby. Whether you're a football fan, you like Arsenal v Tottenham. Whether you're a boxing fan, you like DeGALE v Groves. As soon as you say them two names, the magnitude is there for everyone. And it's a shame that it never happened. But it was just not meant to be. I understand George's got different injuries or whatever. So, but obviously if it would have happened, it would have been fantastic fight for both guys, and the whole of the nation would have tuned in and watched it. There'd been a real buzz around it, and everyone loves the big fight. So it is a real shame that fight never happened.
Jim, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV, and we'll catch up in fight week.